Hey everybody! So, this is another Thoughts on Consciousness, and I want to share with you guys a little bit about some of the obstacles that I have faced while on the journey of consciousness and then how I overcame them. So, recently, I've been in a very committed relationship, and I've noticed that my sense of self can be challenged a lot when I'm in like this sort of bond. And one thing that has been so beautiful in allowing myself to have faith and to surrender, right, has been that I have been able to love my partner and love myself truly from a place of connection rather than from a place of attachment. And that has helped me to be able to see myself from a very childlike perspective of, oh, okay, I am that woman now. I am that adult that I've been looking up to for so long. And as a 29-year-old woman, it feels really nice to be able to have achieved that, to be able to have achieved some level of self-acceptance and happiness. So yesterday I was telling you guys the story about how I saved my friend's life, right, from the pool and everything like that, and what that meant for me when it came to the decisions that I made. And so I wanted to share with you guys a little bit about something else that has been a part of my life, my entire life, that has helped shape me into the person that I am today. So one of the things about consciousness is that it's not necessarily the mind. I think that when I was younger and I would always try to use the mind to break free from whatever boundaries, like how far can I take my mind? How far can I take my thoughts? How far can I take myself, right? The self from the body, maybe, is what I was trying to do. And then what started happening was I started going into very deep states of dreams. And these dreams would be very vivid dreams that I would actually be able to tell in stories later. And one of the most profound dreams that I ever had was here in Lake Atitlán, actually, which is actually a very common dreamscape for me here in the lake. Sometimes it's actually in the water, under the docks. I'm like I'm in the water and I'm in the grass. And I'm never drowning. I've actually been able to overcome those obstacles of dreams where I'm drowning or stuck or sinking. It's really cool, actually. When I'm drowning or sinking, I found that if I think of the people that love me and if I think of how loved I am, then I actually like float to the surface. It's amazing. So it was a very conscious decision to live in these dreams. And one of the dreams that I had once while I was here in Lake Atitlán was of my mom. And I am going to give you guys a whole series dedicated to my dreams and some of the most profound dreams that I've had as a kid that have helped shape me into who I am and understand the dreamscape. But just to keep this dream short, I'm not going to tell you guys the story, but I call it The Mask in the Lake because it was of my mom as a priestess receiving this mask that she had to take care of from a priest or a shaman that came from across the lake. And this mask actually consumes her. And I blame myself in the dream, and then later on in the dream I'm actually going from childhood where I lose her to adulthood where I'm actually being inaugurated into this temple position or whatever, following in my mom's footsteps. And then the same thing happens. The mask is awakened and it consumes me. And the end of that dream is me opening my eyes and looking through the eyes of the mask at the edge of the lake shore where I had lost my mom. And so that beautiful dream, thank God I haven't actually lost my mother. My mother is perfectly well and living in this world. But in this dream, maybe it was a past life, we were definitely in Mayan temples. There were Mayan athletic sports taking place, and the person that brought me the mask was also somebody I knew in this lifetime, but that had, from what I understand, indigenous roots. So I took this dream as me following in the footsteps of my mother. It was one of the first times that I ever profoundly in life connected to the relationship between mother and daughter and how these gifts are passed on, how even just societal status is passed on. And so I know that we were talking about consciousness, but I think that this is really important to touch base on dreams and also to touch base on our roots and our heritage and our ancestry, because these things influence our conscious experience of life. And when we become more consciously aware of ourselves and our place in nature and reality and in the universe, and develop a strong connection with the divine, we're able to interpret things in the world, in the material world around us, that actually have intelligent, conscious, and spiritual context and spiritual meaning. And that's why I want to bring this up really quickly, because what I do after years, after an entire childhood and years of, conscious exploration with and without psychedelics, mostly without, actually, mostly through prayer, through meditation and Maha Mantra and singing and again, dreaming and studying, I developed a way to connect with my sixth sense, so to speak, my intuition, my psychic abilities that everyone has innate to them. But I just became very aware of it at such a young age, even before I was able to fully speak in sentences. So I feel like being connected to that awareness helped me to be able to develop other senses, not senses that are in the physical world, material senses, but actually accumulating those senses and consolidating every physical sense that you have in this material world to aid and assist your sixth sense. So everything you see, everything you touch, everything you hear, taste, smell has spiritual context, especially when you're speaking in the terms of life and death, or psychedelics, or consciousness and unconsciousness. I'm sure many of you guys understand what I'm saying when I say that. You know that there are certain psychedelics that have distinct tastes or experiences of distinct tastes that make you feel a certain way or bring up certain memories outside of psychedelics. It could be that a certain smell brings up a memory that was, embedded in your memory since the age of 12, but all of a sudden at 24 or 29 or whatever, you're having this memory of this smell. So our senses are deeply, deeply and intrinsically connected to our conscious experience, memory, and of course even our present experience, and what we hope for in the future, what we plan for in the future, what we project in the future. But in that timeline of past, present, future, there is an ability that transcends that. There is the self that transcends that, the time and the body and the space. And that self is the universal consciousness. And that universal consciousness is aware. And it is the same in me as it is the same in you. And that is why in many Hindu cultures you say namaste, which is a way of saying the light in me sees and honors the light in you, yes, but it is also saying the self, the divinity in me, sees and recognizes the divinity and the self in you. And there's a very particular meaning behind that. It is a very awakened meaning, and to integrate that into a culture and into a society helps to be able to normalize those things, whereas here we're in the Western world, we're really just working based on scraps. But I think that with the help of our Native American brothers and our Hindu Buddhist brothers and sisters and our family from the Gaelic and Nordic tribes and the Gypsy tribes, and of the Arab nation, all the mystics, all the esoterics, I think that together we work to create a new age, a new world, where that new earth is centered around universal consciousness and the understanding of our connection to the great divine or great spirit, or realm of intelligence, the Akashic records, or whatever you like to call that. So yesterday I was meditating, and I did begin to see scenes of Hindu gods, and just working through them as my personality went through this pantheon of symbolic figures, or what is that word? Not esoteric, but meaningful characters. I'm forgetting exactly what the archetypes, that's the word I'm looking for. All of a sudden my personality started filtering through these archetypes until finally I landed on Krishna, because obviously I was chanting the Maha Mantra and I had to stop filtering through all of these archetypes lest I go into the Roman and Greek archetypes. So no, I stayed in the Hindu archetypes, but I allowed my personality, I allowed my ego to flow through these. And at the very end, when I reached Krishna, I swear to you, my goodness, I was on the last beat of the japa doing 10 rounds of the Maha Mantra. So that was super, super illuminating for me. I do not discredit my sense of connection with the universe any more than I do my own imagination. So in a lot of ways, I come to the conclusion that if my imagination could create this, if my imagination could come up with this vision, then follow through with the vision. I think a lot of times that when we have visions, when we have these moments of realization or revelation, we're taught, trained, conditioned, or scared into suppressing it. And in a lot of ways, that serves people. Not everybody is required or chosen to manifest these revelations, these messages. I think that everybody has the ability to do so and to recognize them, but not everybody is called to them. And I was called at a very young age. So it's something that I've had a very close relationship to because, again, I was put into the context of life and death. And so I had no choice. I had no choice in that moment but to accept reality as it was, to accept myself for who I am, what I am. And it saved my friend's life. But again, in that context, because I was able to put faith in the universe, because I was able to let go of the ego and transcend the finite personality that goes behind being this human existence, I was able to overcome the suppression or rejection of these visual and audio experiences that I had, or these visions that I had, or messages that I received. So when my friend was drowning and I looked up at the pool and the light, I cannot even imagine what would have happened if I denied what I was seeing, or denied what I was hearing, denied the message that I was receiving. Could I have dropped her? Could I have let myself take in a gasp? I don't know what could have happened in that moment. But if I had not, for years, I believe, been preparing myself for that moment to save, not only save my friend, but then to have this visual experience of this divine energy, this force, God, as my mom and I call it. And then literally working through my mother to show me the form of her face and to speak to me through her, and to, thank goodness, give me the same gift as that I had, same gifts that I have that she had or that she has, then I probably would not have been successful in that moment, and maybe the outcome would have been different. But the beautiful thing about the universe and about God and about the world is that I don't even have to think about an alternative situation, an alternative result, because the fact of the matter was that the consciousness within me and the consciousness within her and the divine consciousness as a whole worked together for us to save her life. And in that context, I never doubted for a second that what I saw and what I heard was not real, which is why I told my family. Because even though my father didn't know what to tell me, he didn't discredit me, he didn't deny what had happened, but he definitely didn't give me the same very detailed breakdown and understanding that he normally did for things in life. No, it was my mom. It was my mom that was able to connect to that energy, to that sense within her, that gift within her. And she was able to transcend that material world to communicate to me through her eternal and divine spirit, through her own eternal consciousness and intelligence, that it was indeed God, and that I had actually been given the gift that she was given as well. So she is the first daughter of the first daughter, and I am the first daughter of that. So we are a 3-generation line of women that are from the first daughter of the first daughter of the first daughter. And I think it might go back a little bit further than that. But for the most part, we call it the primogenita. So I am the primogenita of the primogenita of the primogenita. I'm the first daughter of the first daughter of the first daughter. So I'm very grateful that that line wasn't broken and that I was able to receive that gift, because again, my life would not be the same if it wasn't for that gift. If it wasn't for my ability to be able to trust in that gift and trust in the divine that gives us that gift, every single one of us, and not only trust that that gift was there and take it for granted, but align my body, align my spiritual being, align every atom and cell in my body with that divine consciousness. And I use the Maha Mantra more than anything. Yoga I use as well, martial arts, but really the Maha Mantra is the mantra that I use to align my being of consciousness with the divine consciousness. And that allows me to be able to see the divine in others as well, to be able to interact in this material world where there are many things that are contaminated or corrupted, but that I myself remain unanimous, ubiquitous, the same, because I choose to follow the universal energy of the divine, of the light of God. And so I myself am the light of God, the child of God, the source fuels me, and so therefore I don't need to seek anything in this material world to validate my existence. My existence comes from God, so that even if my existence were to be wiped out clean in a moment's hesitation at the hand of another man or at the hand of nature, I would not panic in that instant, because I have seen the divine in my life, and I do know and feel the relation and connection with the divine consciousness. And when something is conscious, it's very light, so it doesn't feel very heavy. It doesn't feel like I'm losing something, because I know the nature of it. The more I study it, the more I understand it, the more I'm able to look at it for what it is, and not just hold on to it and nurture it, but then let it go. Let it go for what it is, which is this free, universal being, the spirit that just came to be housed in this body for a small time. So I'm very grateful, and I love that source of energy. I love that eternal soul that we all come from and that we all share. And I thank it every single day that I have the opportunity to, and I give it strength, and I always bring it back to God, because I'm not strong enough. I'm not strong enough to fight this material world. I'm not even strong enough to heal this material world. But I do know that if I chant the Maha Mantra, if I chant, pray, meditate, and breathe, and align my physical body with the divine consciousness, with the Supreme Personality, then I myself will never be lost or deterred. So with that, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and pause this video right now, because there is something that I would like to go into after this, that we're going to go into for tomorrow's discussion, and that is now my near-death experiences. And I think that when you guys hear my near-death experiences, I will be able to put that also into context with my experience of consciousness, my ability to perceive the divine, and to be able to recognize when I'm receiving messages or gifts or dreams from this transcendental plane. I do think that when we are truly free from contamination of this material world, we begin to connect with the source of intelligence, which allows us to truly find knowledge and information in this world, even if literally it's just your imagination coming up with like, oh, well, this could possibly be a solution to finding a random book or a random word, or learning about somebody or something, or actually finding the actual literature or knowledge in this world from a scholar that aligns with the questions that you have. And that is the beautiful thing that says in the Bible, that Jesus Christ, ask and thou shalt receive, is what he said. Ask and thou shalt receive. And that is very true. You ask the right questions and you will receive the answers, because the knowledge is there, and the knowledge is integrated into the universe around us like code. And if we're able to meditate and calm the being within us, calm the self, calm the center, and come towards the root, as Rumi said, coming to the self through the third eye and perceiving the universe, we can actually receive information and knowledge from thin air itself. And I think that children are very, very prone to this. I remember when I was a kid, I would look at nature and I would look out. And I think that some of the greatest of scientists and discoverers have had this gift as well, where they observed nature and were able to recognize the phenomena that was taking place. And then, of course, thank goodness, the great mathematicians of the ancients were able to then put it into a language that we understand, which is mathematics and science. So I'm very, very grateful to you all for listening to my journey. I'm very grateful to the divine and to the Great Spirit for giving me the awareness and the consciousness to be able to speak to you and to be able to share my experience from birth, and to be able to hopefully facilitate in the awakening of consciousness here on Earth, within our time, within humanity's existence. So with that, everybody, thank you for listening to my thoughts on consciousness, and we will be discussing the sixth sense and near-death experiences tomorrow. Peace, love, and namaste.